In the far edge of the galaxy, where stars shone cold and blue, there was a council of great alien races. They called themselves the Galactic Council, and they believed they ruled all who lived among the stars. They had power, numbers, and fleets of warships that could turn whole planets into ash. Every species bowed before them, afraid of their judgment, afraid of their strength. But there was one species the council did not fear, one they mocked, one they ignored. That species was humanity. The humans were quiet, too quiet. They did not speak in the grand halls of the council. They did not join the endless arguments of alien diplomats. They sat in silence, listening, watching, never interrupting. To the other races, humans seemed weak, unimportant, like children in a room full of giants. The council laughed at them, called them the silent ones. Silence meant weakness, or so they thought, but the truth was far more dangerous. Humanity had reasons for their silence. They had memories of fire and blood. Long before they reached the stars, humans had fought endless wars on Earth. They had seen cities burn, skies fall, and oceans turned red. War had carved deep scars into their history. From those scars came patience, and from patience came silence. The aliens never understood, but the humans remembered, and they were waiting. In the crowded markets of alien stations, traders whispered, "Humans are strange," they said. They smile but say nothing. They agree but reveal nothing. Their eyes watch like predators in the dark. Others nodded, but laughed it away. "They are weak," they said. "They hide behind silence because they fear us." None of them knew how wrong they were, because silence is not always fear. Sometimes silence is a blade, sharpened in the shadows. The Galactic Council continued to press humanity. They demanded resources, demanded tribute, demanded obedience. Humans gave and gave and gave without a word. The Council grew arrogant. They believed humans were slaves, too broken to resist, too weak to fight. But every demand, every insult, every loss, was written in the memory of mankind, and humans never forgot. They built in secret. They studied in silence. They forged weapons in the dark. Patience was their shield. Silence was their sword. The council saw none of it, because the council never looked beyond its pride. Deep within the Sol system, Earth's skies were no longer quiet. In hidden shipyards around the moons of Jupiter, steel giants rose. In black caverns under Mars, machines roared day and night. And beneath the ice of Europa, engines hummed with forbidden power. The humans were silent, but they were not still. They were building something the galaxy had never seen. A shadow fleet, born in silence. Still, the galaxy mocked them. At the council table, alien leaders pointed and sneered. "Look at them," they said. "They say nothing, they do nothing, they are nothing." But in the shadows, humanity watched. Every insult was a spark. Every humiliation was fuel. And one day the fire would come. The first sign appeared in whispers. Ships traveling near the Sol system vanished. Council patrols went missing. No distress calls. No survivors. Only silence. The council grew suspicious, but they did not dare accuse. "Humans are too weak," they said. "They cannot do this." But in their hearts, fear began to grow, because weakness cannot hide forever, and silence cannot last forever. In the deserts of Mars, a lone commander stood before his soldiers. He looked up at the night sky, filled with alien stars, and said only one thing: "We were silent because we waited, but soon the galaxy will hear us." The soldiers did not cheer, they stayed silent too, because silence had become their war cry. The council did not hear those words, but they would feel them soon. Far away on the homeworld of the council, leaders argued. Some said humans were no threat, some said humans were plotting, but none of them knew the truth. The truth was this: the most dangerous enemy is not the one who shouts, not the one who roars, but the one who waits in silence. And humanity had waited long enough. The galaxy thought humans were weak. The galaxy thought silence meant fear. But soon they would learn that silence is only the pause before the storm. And when the storm came, it would burn stars. The silent species was about to awaken. The Galactic Council had ruled for thousands of years. They thought they understood every race, every world, every star. They thought silence meant weakness, and weakness meant obedience. But humanity's silence was not obedience. It was warning. Still, the Council did not understand, and they pushed harder. At the great halls of the Council, alien voices thundered. 1,000 delegates argued over the fate of 1,000 worlds. But when it came to Earth, they always agreed. Take more from them, one said. They will not resist. They are too afraid, another added. They do not speak. They do not fight. And so the Council made its demands. They ordered humans to surrender minerals from their planets. They took fuel from Earth's colonies. They even demanded human soldiers to serve in alien wars. The humans obeyed. Quietly, cargo ships left Earth full of resources. Convoys of human workers vanished into Council space. And still humanity said nothing. The Council believed silence was victory. But silence can also mean patience. In the corridors of alien stations, whispers began. Humans never complain, traitors said. They give and give, but say nothing. Others laughed. They are broken. That is why they are silent. But not everyone laughed. Some feared that silence. Because predators are always quiet before they strike. The Council grew arrogant. Each demand grew crueler. Each command harsher. When humans resisted even a little, entire villages were burned. When colonies asked for mercy, fleets appeared above their skies. The message was clear. Obey or be destroyed. And humanity obeyed. But beneath the surface, something was changing. On Earth, in hidden places, leaders met in secret. They spoke no words of war, only words of memory. They remembered the insults, the cruelty, the endless demands. They remembered every resource stolen, every ship taken, every family lost. And they waited, not with fear, but with fire in their hearts. Meanwhile, in the Council chambers, alien leaders laughed at human silence. See how easy it is, one said. Push them and they bend. They are not a threat, another replied. They are too quiet. But some alien voices were uneasy. Silence is dangerous. They warned, we should not push too far. Their warnings were ignored. Greed drowned out fear. The Council sent more ships into Sol. They said it was for protection. But everyone knew it was for control. They landed on moons and asteroids. They built stations near Mars. They took what they wanted. And all the while, humanity stayed quiet. But silence is never endless. In the cities of Earth, people worked by day and prepared by night. Factories that built machines for the Council also built weapons for humans. Ships that carried resources out also returned with secret cargo. Every demand of the Council only fed the hidden fire. The more they pressed, the stronger humanity became. But the Council did not see it. They were blind in their arrogance. One day, a Council commander stood before a human governor. He sneered and said, "Your people are nothing without us." The human governor did not reply. His silence was steady, his eyes cold. The commander laughed. "Weak creatures," he said. But the governor whispered later to his people, "Let them believe we are weak. Soon they will see." Across the stars, rumors grew. A traitor swore he saw strange ships near Neptune. A smuggler claimed human convoys vanished into empty space. The Council dismissed the rumors. "They are cowards," they said. "They cannot fight us." But deep inside, unease was spreading. The silence felt heavier, darker, as if humanity was not broken, but waiting. The more pressure the Council applied, the more cracks formed in its own unity. Some alien leaders feared war. Others demanded total control. They argued, they fought, they shouted in their chambers. But still, humanity said nothing. And that silence was louder than any war cry. On Earth, a single message passed between hidden leaders. It was not shouted, it was not broadcast. It was only whispered. Wait, not yet, but soon. And so humanity waited. while the council pressed harder. Unknowing, unseeing, blind to the storm that was rising. In the quiet of deep space, beyond Pluto, a massive structure took shape. Alien eyes never saw it. Council spies never found it. But it grew, silent and hidden. A weapon born from patience, forged by silence. And when it awakened, the galaxy would burn. For now, the council believed it had won. It believed silence meant surrender. But silence was only the mask. Behind that mask was fire. And soon the fire would break free. The Galactic Council had pressed too far. They thought humans were broken, but they were only patient. They thought silence was weakness, but it was warning, and every warning must end. The first spark was about to fall. A council fleet entered the Sol system. They said it was only for inspection, but everyone knew the truth. It was intimidation. The fleet was vast, dozens of warships armed with heavy cannons. Their hulls glowed with alien symbols of power. They believed one look at their ships would keep humans afraid. But they did not understand what waited for them beyond the cold edges of Pluto. The fleet commander was an arrogant creature with 6 eyes. He sent a message to Earth. "You belong to us," he declared. "You will obey, or we will burn your world." The message echoed across human channels. But no human answered. The silence was like stone, heavy, unshaken. The aliens laughed, believing humans too weak to reply. But silence can be the sound before thunder. Days passed. The fleet patrolled near the orbit of Pluto, scanning, searching. They found abandoned satellites, drifting wreckage, empty stations. But no human ships approached. The commander grew bold. "Perhaps they have nothing," he sneered. But then, on the edge of their sensors, something moved. At first it was only a shadow, a blur against the black. Then the shadow grew into a shape. A ship, dark as night, silent as the void, carried no council markings, no lights, no signal, but its presence filled the aliens with unease. One officer whispered, "It's human." The commander roared with laughter. "One ship? Against us?" He ordered his fleet to attack. Missiles flew, cannons fired, beams of light cut across the dark. But the shadow ship did not fall. It moved faster than their eyes could follow. It twisted between blasts. It returned fire with weapons no one had seen before. One council ship vanished in flame. Then another, and another. The fleet began to break apart. Confusion and fear spreading. "This cannot be possible," shouted the commander. But it was happening. The humans had struck. The shadow ship was not large, but it was deadly. Its cannons tore through alien shields as if they were paper. Its missiles tracked with intelligence, chasing ships into hiding. Its engines burned with power stolen from forbidden science. In less than an hour, the mighty council fleet was reduced to wreckage. Dozens of warships gone. Their remains floated in silence above Pluto's orbit, and the shadow ship vanished into the void. No message, no survivors, only silence. News spread like fire across the galaxy. How could this happen? Alien Worlds asked. The council fleet destroyed? By humans. Rumors grew wild. Some said it was a secret weapon. Some said it was human magic. Others whispered the most dangerous truth. Perhaps humans were never weak. Perhaps they were only waiting. The council tried to hide the defeat. They told their people the fleet was lost to an accident. They blamed cosmic storms, engine failures, anything but the truth. But rumors cannot be silenced. And silence itself was louder than ever, because still humanity said nothing. No claim, no demand, no explanation, only silence. And that silence terrified the galaxy more than any war cry could. In hidden chambers on Earth, human leaders spoke quietly. They did not celebrate, they did not cheer. They only nodded. The first spark. One said, "Nothing more. Let them wonder." Another replied, "Let them fear silence." They knew this was not victory, only the beginning. The council would not stop, and neither would humanity. On alien worlds, ordinary beings trembled. They remembered the sight of wreckage. They remembered the whispers of the dangerous ship, a ship built in silence, born from patience. They feared what else humanity had hidden, because if one ship could destroy a fleet, what could an entire hidden armada do? In the council chamber, chaos reigned. Some demanded vengeance. Destroy Earth now, before they grow stronger. Others demanded caution. What if they are already stronger? The council was divided. Fear had entered their hearts. Fear planted by silence. Fear fed by fire. And fear is the beginning of collapse. Far beyond, in the blackness of space, the shadow ship drifted unseen. Its crew watched in silence, their faces calm. They had lit the first spark, and the fire was spreading. The galaxy would soon burn, and all of it began with silence. The galaxy could not forget Pluto. An entire council fleet had vanished, destroyed in the silence of Sol's outer edge. And in every corner of space, whispers began. They spoke of a human ship, a ship so deadly that even the proud council could not stand against it. They called it many names, the Black Phantom, the Ghost of Sol, but one name spread faster than the rest. They called it the Flame of Silence. No one knew where it came from. No one knew how it was built. But every rumor told the same story. A single ship, dark as the void, with weapons that tore through shields, engines that burned brighter than suns, and a silence that was more terrifying than 1,000 war cries. In alien markets, traders spoke in hushed voices. I saw it. One swore, a shadow that moved like fire. Another shook his head. No, no ship could do that, it must be lies. But deep in their hearts they were afraid, because lies do not leave wreckage. And wreckage was all that remained of the council fleet. The council tried to bury the truth. They told their people that the fleet was lost to storms, or swallowed by a black hole. But truth has a way of escaping. Every piece of wreckage carried human fingerprints. Every silence carried human shadows. And so the legend grew stronger. In secret, alien spies hunted for answers. They infiltrated colonies, they bribed workers, they searched the dark edges of human space. But they found nothing. Everywhere they looked, humanity stayed silent. Factories showed nothing unusual. Stations looked empty. Colonies looked weak. But still, the spies returned uneasy. Something was hidden, something vast. And it was waiting. Meanwhile, in the halls of the council, fear boiled into anger. How dare they? Cried one leader. A primitive species challenging us. Another slammed the table. We must crush them now. But not all agreed. What if the rumors are true? Whispered a cautious voice. What if they have more than one ship? Silence fell across the chamber. The thought was too terrible to ignore. On Earth, the truth was known. The flame of silence was real. It had been built in secret, piece by piece, in hidden shipyards far from alien eyes. Its weapons were forged from technology stolen, copied, and improved. Its core was powered by something even the council feared to study. And its crew were the best humanity had to offer. Not soldiers of arrogance, but survivors of patience. They were silent because they knew the galaxy was listening. But their silence carried a promise. The ship itself became more than a weapon. It became a symbol. Across human worlds, whispers turned to hope. Children drew pictures of the dark warship. Workers told stories of its victories. Families spoke of a future no longer ruled by the council. For the first time in centuries, humanity felt power in their silence. Not weakness, not fear, but power. The council grew desperate. They sent fleets to patrol the edges of Sol. They threatened Earth with annihilation. But every time they reached too far, another fleet went missing. And every time no human spoke, only wreckage floated in the void. The silence was endless. The silence was fire. Across alien space, doubt spread. If the mighty council could not defeat humans, could anyone? Species that once mocked humanity now watched carefully. Some feared them, some admired them, some even whispered of alliance. But humans did not reach out. They stayed silent, because silence was still their greatest weapon. One night, above the skies of Europa, The flame of silence returned home. Its hull was scarred, its cannons dim, but its presence filled the hearts of its people with pride. Children stared at it with wide eyes. Soldiers saluted in silence. Leaders bowed their heads, because they knew this ship was more than steel. It was the voice of humanity, spoken without words. In the shadows of the council chamber, the arguments continued. Some demanded war, others begged for peace. But no decision could be made, because every time they tried to act, they remembered Pluto, they remembered wreckage, and they remembered silence. Fear is a slow poison, and it had begun to spread through the heart of the council. And still, humanity built more. Not only ships, but networks of hidden bases, fleets that moved without sound, weapons that gleamed in the dark. Every piece born in silence, every creation hidden, until the day the galaxy would see them. And when that day came, no amount of power, no amount of arrogance, would stop the fire. The galaxy had laughed at humans once, but no one laughed now, because silence had given birth to something deadly, and that silence carried the promise of flame. The dangerous ship was only the beginning. The galaxy had heard the whispers, they had seen the wreckage, they had feared the shadow of the flame of silence. But none of them were ready for what came next, because silence had ended, and fire had begun. It started small, with an outpost on the edge of council space. The outpost sent a simple message one morning. Contact lost with patrol fleet. Then silence. When council ships arrived, they found nothing but burned metal, drifting in the void. Every weapon system destroyed, every sensor blinded. No survivors. The mark of humans was clear. Days later, another strike. A mining colony deep in alien territory went dark. Its defenses shattered, its resources gone. Witnesses spoke of ships that came like ghosts. Black hulls, silent engines, weapons that cut through shields in seconds. They came from nowhere, one survivor said, and vanished like smoke. The council called it sabotage, but fear told a different story. Fear said it was humanity. The attacks grew bolder. One by one, council fleets disappeared. Supply lines were broken, convoys lost, whole planets cut off from food and aid. The mighty machine of the council began to stutter, and behind every silence, behind every flame, there was only one answer whispered. Humans. For the first time in history, the galaxy saw human fleets. Not just the flame of silence, but dozens of ships. Warships shaped like shadows, fast and merciless, each one striking where the council was weak, each one vanishing before reinforcements arrived. No one knew how many ships there were. Some said 100, some said 1,000, but every attack felt like the work of an entire army. In the dark of space, humans moved with precision. They did not fight like the council, who crushed with numbers and power. They fought like hunters, every strike planned, every blow exact. They never wasted a bullet, never wasted a life, and every time they struck, they left a message without words. Silence. On alien worlds, ordinary people trembled. For generations, they had feared the council, obeyed the council. Now they watched the council lose. They saw human fire spreading across the stars. And for the first time, they wondered if the council could be defeated. Some even whispered in secret, perhaps the humans fight for all of us. But not everyone admired them. Many feared them more than the council. If humans could burn fleets so easily, what would they do once the council was gone? Were they saviors or conquerors? The question grew louder, but humanity gave no answer. Their silence was the only reply, and that silence was terrifying. In the council chambers, panic spread. Reports came in faster than leaders could read them. Outposts destroyed, colonies lost, fleets missing. Every map of council space grew darker, filled with the ashes of defeat. The council demanded a response. Strike back, they shouted. Make them bleed. But their fleets could not find the enemy. Humanity struck like fire, burned bright, then vanished. How do you fight shadows? On Earth, the people watched with pride. For years they had been silent, patient. Now their silence had become fire. Children no longer whispered of weakness. They whispered of heroes. Soldiers no longer feared the alien fleets. They feared only failing in their mission. And leaders no longer begged for peace. They prepared for victory. The flame of silence became a legend. It led many of the strikes, its hull scarred but unbroken. Wherever it appeared, the council knew death would follow. One commander said, "When I saw it, I felt like I was staring at the end of days." And perhaps he was right, because the fire was spreading faster than anyone could stop. Yet, humanity did not shout their triumph. They did not demand surrender. They only burned what needed to burn. They spoke through silence, through wreckage, through fire. The galaxy did not hear words. The galaxy heard thunder. By the end of one season, dozens of systems were lost. The Council's empire was no longer unshaken. It trembled. Every ally questioned its strength. Every enemy smelled blood. And in the shadows, humanity watched it all, patient as always, because this was not yet the end. This was only the fire across the stars. The storm was still coming, and when it arrived, it would burn brighter than anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Galactic Council had never known fear. For thousands of years, they ruled with strength and arrogance. They crushed rebellions, silenced uprisings, and bent worlds to their will. But now, for the first time, they trembled, and the cause was silence. The fire of humanity spread across the stars. Outposts destroyed. Fleets vanished. Colonies lost. Every new report struck like a knife. The council chamber, once filled with proud voices, now shook with panic. Leaders argued, shouted, and cursed, but none of their words could stop the silence of mankind. At the great table of the council, the High Speaker demanded order. "Compose yourselves," he cried. "These humans cannot defeat us." But his voice quivered, and all present knew the truth. The council was breaking, because when fear enters the heart of rulers, their rule begins to die. Some demanded vengeance. "Burn Earth," one shouted. "Wipe them out before it is too late." Others demanded caution. "What if we fail again?" A nervous leader whispered. "What if they have more ships?" No one knew the answer. No one could measure the strength of humanity, because silence hides numbers, silence hides strength, and the unknown is always more terrifying than the known. In the shadows of the chamber, smaller races listened carefully. For centuries they had bowed to the council. Now they saw weakness. They saw fear on the faces of those who once claimed to be gods. And whispers began to spread. If the council can be broken, maybe it can be replaced. Outside the chambers, ordinary citizens felt the same. On alien streets, posters once showed the power of the council. Now those posters were torn, burned, or ignored. Rumors filled the air. "Humans destroyed another fleet," one voice said. "They burned another colony," another replied. Fear turned into doubt, and doubt is the seed of rebellion. Meanwhile, humanity watched in silence. Every strike they made weakened the council, not just in space but in spirit. The council had more ships, more soldiers, more resources, but all of it meant nothing when their hearts were broken. And silence was the weapon that broke them most. Within the chambers, arguments grew worse. Some leaders accused others of betrayal. "Your fleets did not arrive in time," one shouted. "You let the humans win." Another slammed his claws on the table. "Do not blame me, blame them." The council had always stood united in arrogance. Now it fractured into pieces of fear, and humanity had not spoken a single word. A desperate plan was proposed. "Send all our forces," a commander said. "Every fleet, every ship, overwhelm them." But another voice rose, quiet yet sharp. "And if we send all and they still win?" The chamber fell silent. For the first time in history, the council feared losing everything. On Earth, human leaders heard the reports. They did not cheer, they did not boast. They only nodded. "The council trembles," one said. "And trembling is the first step before falling." They knew victory was not yet complete. But they knew the galaxy was watching, and the galaxy saw the council weak. In hidden corners of space, other species began to act. Some sent secret messages to humanity, offering quiet support. Others plotted their own uprisings. And some simply waited, eager to see the council fall. The galaxy was changing. The fire had not only burned ships, it had burned fear into the rulers. And fear spreads faster than flame. The flame of silence appeared once more, this time at the edge of a council core world. It did not attack, it did not fire a single weapon. It only drifted above the skies, its dark hull reflecting alien lights. The message was clear. We are here, and you cannot stop us. Then it vanished again. The silence of its departure was more terrifying than any battle. Back in the chamber, the High Speaker lowered his head. His people looked to him for strength, but his voice was broken. We may have awakened something we cannot control, he whispered. Those words spread like poison through the council. For if the rulers themselves lost hope, what hope remained for the galaxy? The council trembled. The rulers of stars now feared shadows. Their fleets still vast, their armies still countless, but their unity was shattered. And unity is the heart of power. Once broken, it cannot be easily repaired. Humanity had done what no one thought possible. They had made gods tremble. And they had done it without a roar, without a speech, without a declaration. Only silence. And that silence was more powerful than fire. Because fire destroys, but silence breaks the soul. For generations, the galaxy had called humans the silent species. They mocked them, they insulted them, they pressed them until patience became a prison. But silence cannot last forever. And on that day, silence ended in flame. The council trembled, its fleets shattered, its worlds burning, its leaders divided. Still, they clung to pride. Still, they believed they could command. They called one last meeting, the largest in their history. Every species sent delegates. Every voice demanded answers. What are the humans? They cried. What do they want? But no one knew, because humanity had never spoken. Until now, the chamber lights dimmed. The great hall of the council fell into uneasy silence. And above them, a shadow appeared, not in person but in projection, the image of the flame of silence, its dark hull glowing red with the fire of its engines. Every eye turned upward, every voice went quiet. And then, for the first time, humanity spoke. The voice was not loud, but it carried through every corner of the chamber. It was steady, calm, unbroken. We were silent because we remembered, the voice said. We remembered fire, we remembered war, we remembered how destruction nearly ended us. The chamber shook with unease. No one interrupted. The voice continued. We were silent because we prepared. We watched, we built. We endured your cruelty, your arrogance, your endless demands. We were patient, but patience has limits. And now we fight. The chamber erupted, voices shouting, some in fear, some in rage. Threats, cried one leader. Mere threats. But their words were drowned out as the projection changed. The stars appeared behind the ship, and in those stars, countless human warships emerged. Dark hulls, glowing cannons, fleets hidden for years revealed in a single moment. The chamber gasped. Silence fell again, because the truth was clear. Humanity had not one ship, but an armada. The voice of humanity returned. You thought our silence meant weakness, it said. But silence is not surrender. Silence is the breath before the storm. And the storm has come. At that moment, alarms blared across the council's homeworld. Every screen lit with images of fire in the skies. The flame of silence had arrived. Its cannons lit the void with streams of burning light. Defenses shattered. Fleets crumbled. The world shook as if the stars themselves had turned against it. The council screamed for order, for defense, for hope. But hope was gone. Their armies had no unity. Their fleets no courage. The fire spread faster than they could respond. And above it all, the dark ship burned. A symbol of silence turned to flame. Yet, humanity did not strike to destroy everything. Their attacks were precise. Weapons crippled fleets, disabled defenses, shattered symbols of power. But they left civilians unharmed. They did not kill for glory. They struck for justice. And justice spoke louder than any council law. On alien worlds, people watched. They saw the council fall. They saw the humans rise. And in their hearts, fear turned into something new. Not only fear, but respect. Because in silence, humanity had shown patience. And in flame, they had shown strength. The galaxy would never see them as weak again. In the chamber, the High Speaker collapsed to his knees. His voice broken, his pride gone. "What do you want?" he whispered. The human voice answered, "We want what you never gave us. Respect, freedom, peace. We will not be slaves. We will not be silent. We will not bow." The words echoed like thunder, and with those words the old order died. The fires in the sky dimmed. The flame of silence withdrew, its fleet vanishing into the black. But its message remained. The galaxy now lived under a new truth, that humanity had risen, and silence had become fire. From that day forward, no one mocked them, no one called them weak. Every alien who looked upon a human remembered the silence, and remembered the flame that followed. The legend spread from world to world, the story of a species that spoke not with words, but with patience, with silence, and with fire. The silent species was silent no longer. They had awakened, they had spoken, and the galaxy would never be the same.